Hi, welcome to Behind the Badge. I'm Chief Alan Rodbell of Scottsdale Police Department. With me is Miss Chris Vassal, our community liaison.
Hello everybody, how are you doing?
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. It's springtime. Happy spring, everybody.
Yes, it's finally starting to get a little warmer and it's light out in the morning and at night now. That's good for driving. Yeah,
it's good. And of course, all the things that come along with spring, people are getting outside again and enjoying the weather. And you have to be careful with kids in the street and on the pools, of course. And all the things that come with nice weather and people getting outside again.
Right, and you know that the city's been quite busy with baseball that's been here and a lot of visitors. We had a ton of visitors in Scottsdale this season, and we couldn't be more happy to have them here.
Once again, record crowds, tremendous crowds at the Open and the Barrett-Jackson and the Bravian Show, and amazingly, once again, a very, very safe season.
Absolutely.
So we're very, very happy and pleased to report things are doing very, very well here.
Yeah, and all the people that got out of the snow to come to Arizona and get some sunshine, I think they were happy.
And they're all in the 101 at the same time.
Exactly.
And so not much going on all the way. We have Citizens Academy graduation coming up sometime
19th.
This month.
Yep.
And the only reason I mention that is because if people are interested in going to the Citizens Academy, this would be the time to start considering that.
Yes.
It starts up in September, but it'll be here before you realize it.
And I do take applications and I do hold them because it fills up so fast that if you're interested, just give me a call or go online and you can grab an application and send it to me and I'll hold it.
And online is scottsdaleaz.gov.
Yeah.
Go to the police section and go right there.
Community Relations, and it should be right there.
Sounds great. Okay. So today we're going to talk a little about something that I think is really a critical issue in law enforcement at the moment. This sort of is like on a pendulum. It goes from needing officers and needing employees, and at the same time sometimes we don't have any vacancies. But I think what's happening now that the economy seems to be back and people seem to be once again vacationing, and also people are retiring as they age out of their careers.
Yes, exactly.
We have a lot of vacancies.
We do.
And we're competing against other police departments and other city governments for their vacancies and for great people, and we're always looking for great people. So we're going to talk a bit about how you become a police officer or a police employee. And the process that people go through in getting there. We have quite a few applicants, and at the end of the process, we have just a few really well qualified people that actually achieve the opportunity to work for Scottsdale.
Absolutely, and there are a lot of openings right now, and so we brought the experts in and the people that actually do the processing and the interviewing and the training, and we just think that this would be a great show to show our audience how do you become a police officer and what you need to do.
So why don't you introduce our guests?
I would love to. Thanks so much. Right to my left is Jill Bame. She's our personnel manager. And then we have Jen Paxton. She is now our current polygrapher, but Jen is a retired police officer and served the city for quite some time and decided she missed us so much she came back as a polygrapher. And we have Officer Hathaway on the end there, and he's one of our training officers, and they're going to all talk about how you become a police officer or a dispatcher or a police employee. So who do you want to start with?
Let's talk about the process itself at first, and then we can talk about opportunities. So I'll start off with you, Jill, if you don't mind, and if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about your background, because I think our audience is always interested in how you ended up in the positions you've ended up at. And certainly if they're interested in careers, they'd be interested in knowing what those careers were like.
Absolutely. So my background consists of about 25 years of human resources management. My job is personnel manager. I work in the background unit. We specifically work with recruiting for all the positions and opportunities that we have, as well as recruiting and then the background process itself. So the beauty of what I do every day, I still get to use my human resources experience in my career. I'm helping people find jobs, which I really like. So that has been the majority of my career, and it's a passion of mine because just leading people to assist them in the community to our organization and to wonderful opportunities in directing them. So we handle all of the testing processes for all of the police department positions that we have, and through the background process and all the steps. So I'm grateful to be with City of Scottsdale. I've been here about 1 year and 4 months, and I've really wanted to be here for quite a few years of my career. I spent about 20 years in private sector and about 4 in public sector with another agency, and I am a City of Scottsdale citizen myself, and what greater place than to find amazing people to fit within our city and our operation.
Plus, you're with a police family on top
Absolutely,
of it.
with the police family.
Your husband is a police chief?
He was a retired police sergeant, and he served for 41 years in his career, 15 back east and about 26 here with the town of Paradise Valley. Yeah. And so it's great because I do feel like I'm with family and among people that I know. It's wonderful.
Exactly.
Very cool. Hey, before you go in for that, when we talk about the process and the part that you oversee, and we'll get into the parts of the process. Sure. So I'm interested in either employment as a police officer or as a civilian employee in the other aspects of law enforcement. How do I find out about what's available? Absolutely.
We have everything on our website. If you go to scottsdalepd.gov /police, you'll find all the different job opportunities, and that's what's amazing about the police department. We have our sworn positions and our non-sworn civilian positions, so we have everything from police officer, which the majority of people tend to think of in a police department, police officer. But we have records, we have dispatch, we have forensics, we have computer type positions, information technology. So it goes on and on. So it's best for someone that's searching for a job to go on our website, look at all the different job descriptions to see exactly what's available, because there's so many opportunities that people really don't think about when they're thinking of police department. I ask people to kind of look at their skill set that they have and where that can be applied within the police department. And also absolutely to give us a call with any questions, just so you can see the many different opportunities.
So online I'll find whatever jobs are open and available, and
yes.
So you post that how often?
It's fresh every day, so anytime something's posted, typically our positions are posted for 2 weeks. And we also have availability if you like an interest in a particular position. Rather than searching the web every day, you can go online and put your name in for an interest card. So you put your name and your email address so that you can be contacted the minute that something opens up. So that's a wonderful factor too.
Yeah, because then that you get like, if you're not searching at that particular point, you might miss it. So that's
Absolutely.
great. That's really a great customer service.
Yeah.
So what kind of qualifications, and then we'll talk about police first.
Sure.
In terms of I want to be a police officer, what kinds of things are you looking for that I should put in my application?
Okay, good question. Well, the requirements are 20 years and 8 months when someone applies. They have to be 21 years of age to carry a firearm, and once they graduate to become a police officer, you do have to be 21. We really enjoy people that have a customer service background experience. If someone is really interested in becoming a police officer, other areas of opportunity are the Explorers program, where they come and can understand the police department background, volunteer opportunities, but really customer service is a wonderful aspect for someone to have. If you think about it, we're not only enforcing laws, but we're assisting the public, and there's so much more to police work than just enforcing law, but really helping others and being involved with the community. So someone that's comfortable and with relationships establishing are some good traits to have.
Good listening skills, multitasking, being more of a counselor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of counseling out there, right, Officer Hathaway?
Fair amount. So when you, so if someone looks in, they'll also find things that we'll call automatic disqualifiers. So they'll know exactly if there's certain kinds of activities in their past don't even bother applying because they can't be certified by the state to be a law enforcement officer in the state. Those are out there. The requirements for the physical testing is also online for people, so they know exactly what's going to be expected of them as a test, or they can prepare for it, because I think we also have examples of how to perform the certain exercises that they have to perform at the test site. That's on there as well. So people pretty much have all the information they need to know whether or not they're ready and prepared and qualified to apply.
Absolutely. And one word of advice that I also give to make sure that you do review the website and do see what those physical requirements, what they are, and how to prepare. That's really important to get your start. And of course we do, Officer Hathaway will probably talk a little bit about the physical fitness standard, but that's such an important aspect to come prepared, because one of the first steps once you apply for the position, when you go through the testing, you are tested on physical fitness requirements, and there's a written examination as well. But all of the information that you can attain beforehand to prepare yourself is certainly good.
Absolutely, and there's quite a bit of competition, so there's a lot of people that are applying, so you have to make sure that you are prepared.
So let's talk a little about that, the physical attributes. So you're involved with the testing process yourself in terms of the physical test?
Correct.
And so what's expected of candidates as they test for police officer?
So there's 3 fitness tests that they have to pass at the initial testing process, and that's the push-ups, the sit-ups, and a 1.5-mile run. So they have to do a minimum of 19 push-ups, a minimum of 28 sit-ups in a minute, and then they have to run a 1.5 miles in 14 minutes and 18 seconds. And again, those are the standards to get hired. We try and remind people that while you may meet those standards, once you become an officer, your fitness is something we really need you to maintain just for your own safety and for the public safety, because it is a physical job.
Yeah, and in fact, a while back, not recently, we would test at testing, and then the candidates would be hired, and they would kind of like lay low between the time they were going through the process and actually go to the academy. And when they got to the academy, we were losing a large number of our candidates the first week at the academy, because they did the minimum, they got passed, and then they decided they were just going to go ahead and show up at the academy and get in shape at the academy. And the academy is not the place to get in shape. You've got to be in shape to go to the academy, and you have to maintain that. So now we test you an additional twice before the academy starts.
At the end of the application process, right before you get hired, so this could be a fair amount of time after you initially tested, we bring you back to have you retest to make sure that you have not declined in your fitness level before we send you to the academy. So it's on the applicant to maintain those fitness standards throughout the hiring process, not just at the beginning.
And Officer Hathaway, it is a single standard, so females would be required to do the exact same male push-up. It's not modified in any way, correct?
Correct. It's just across the board.
It's
It's
a single mandate. Okay, just so we know that.
And again, the example of how to do a correct sit-up and push-up is actually online, so people can see that ahead of time. And it still amazes me, people will still show up and not be able to do that when we tell them ahead of time, this is what's expected of you, and we can't make exceptions. But it's all for the purposes of getting them ready for the academy and through the academy. And since we started this process, we haven't had anybody fail out of the academy early on as a result of physical fitness. Before that, we had a 40% drop, which was a horrific number to lose.
And so once they pass the physical fitness test, because they all come out together, and then they do the physical fitness test, then they're moved on to the next step in the process?
Correct, and that's probably why I should turn over to Jill, because she can basically take the rest of the hiring process through. The physical fitness is the very first thing we have them do, and then after that, the ball moves into Jill's court.
Absolutely, and I'll reflect back to one of the questions that Chief asked is part of the process, disqualifiers. When you go online and look at all of our automatic disqualifiers, that's part of the process too, to be educated on that. Just for the fact that there are standards that are mandated by Arizona Post, Police Officer Standards Training, and so we adhere to those guidelines as well. So part of the process, once you fill out the application, we've got the testing process, which basically consists of inviting people to. We typically have 2 days that are held on a weekend, a Saturday and Sunday, a couple different times throughout that day. And within that testing, they'll come in and the training unit will do all of the physical fitness requirements, the sit-ups, pull-ups, and the 1.5 mile run. And then we'll move on to the written examination. During each step of the process, you have to pass each phase in order to move on to the next.
Okay.
So the first, we generally start with the push-ups, and then we do the sit-ups, and then we do the run. And if all 3 of those areas are passed, then you proceed to the written examination, which is typically a 2-hour written examination. Once that process is secured and you've been successful through the physical fitness and the written examination, then you're invited to the oral board interview process. And that consists of coming in for an oral board interview. Everyone that's successful from that then moves on to the background process. And there you would move into the automatic disqualifiers. And if you look at that information online beforehand too, it is really important. So you don't start through the process and realize I have an automatic disqualifier, whether it's drug use or
And there's no exceptions to those.
No exceptions.
So people need to know that if they think that they get through the testing process, the physical fitness, and then the written test and the exam, and they move on to the oral boards, that if they have a disqualifier, it is an automatic disqualifier.
Absolutely. Yes, no exceptions.
It's really important that people that are thinking that, I'm going to college and 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I'm going to apply because I want to be a police officer. They really need to familiarize themselves with those, because they could make a decision not realizing it's a
mistake.
decision that it will cost them dearly. Just an example of that is marijuana edibles. That's treated as if it were a narcotic, and you have to have 7 years since the last time you used, and it has to be a minimal amount of use that has to be deemed experimental. So you can't be using it a lot. So if you used it one time, and you think, I'm going to get out of school in 2 years and apply for law enforcement, you've got 5 years beyond that before anybody would even consider you in the state of Arizona. And so it's important that if you're interested in law enforcement right now, but you're planning on entering into it in a couple of years from now or later, you still need to review. You still need to review that, so you can say, you know what, I can't do that.
Exactly.
It's going to hit. It'll infringe upon my opportunity to be to work in law enforcement.
And then you need to weigh what your true desire is to become and what you want to aspire to, or hanging out with your friends. And you can do both. You just have to make wise choices.
Right. So I have done all that. I've gotten through all this. I've got my background packet in, which is basically everything you've done in life and all the places you ever lived and all your neighbors, and it's really it's extensive.
It is.
After I'm done with all that, and it's been approved by someone at the chief's level to hire, there's more steps to go yet. Right?
Absolutely.
What are those
so
steps?
we have then we would go into a conditional. So if someone is accepted for hire, they would go into a conditional job offer, which they would have to complete a drug test, as well as a psychological examination and a medical examination. So once those are passed, then we're good. In the background,
I went too far, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah,
I jumped over
you gotta go to
Jen.
Jen.
Jen, I'm sorry, I jumped
You're
over you.
in between the conditional.
You are the most fun of all times.
the polygraph examination.
Thank you.
So Jen, she's one of the individuals that also assists with backgrounds, but she's primarily, her position is a polygraph examiner. So we have a few background investigators within our department, and they would go through the whole background packet, have a lengthy conversation with the candidate to go through all of the background. Then once the background interview is completed, then it would be turned over to Jen for the polygraph examination.
Okay, but before you start, I've been rude to you already. I'll continue being rude. Tell us about yourself, a little bit about your background, because you just didn't wake up and be a polygraph operator.
No, I didn't. I actually started with this department in June of '94 as an intern.
Oh, wow.
In the personnel unit, which has really come full circle for me. Yeah, so I started as an intern June of '94, helping out with background packets, and then I got hired September 29th of '94 as an officer. And I did the next 21 years as an officer. I had various assignments, all of which I loved. It was the best career ever. I couldn't have asked for a better career. I loved working for the city. I was blessed and very fortunate to be sent to polygraph school, which you sent me there in '09, and I got that training. And then when I retired, I did some private polygraph for a couple years, and then when there was an opening, I came back and asked to come back to the city, and you hired me again. So I'm double blessed.
Well, you're being too modest, because when you worked in investigations as a detective, you are credited with being one of our best interrogators and interviewers.
Yeah, you
in the
would
department.
not think that with that soft-spoken thing, but
So
she's
you're
one of the
being-
good
It's genuine.
ones.
You're being too modest, of course.
I had a lot of great assignments. My favorite was investigations. I worked as a detective from 2001 until 2014. Then I went to personnel for a year, my last year of my career there. So, a good solid 13 years, and
Put a lot of bad guys away.
yeah, and some women.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't discriminate.
So we're talking about polygraph, and some people might think of it. It's simply the lie detector, right?
Yeah, that's what people know it
People
as.
know it as, but it's a polygraph, and you're a polygraphist, right?
Yes, I am.
And so tell us a little about what I to expect, because people have this vision from television that there's like a bunch of scenario talking, and it really isn't quite like that.
No, it's not like that. And if I could give them any advice, if they're going to apply with us and they're going to be successful in our process and make it to polygraph, because not everybody does, like Jill said, at any step along the way, each step is you moving forward is contingent upon successful completion of the previous step.
Right.
And so by the time we get to polygraph, you've been through a number of steps. And so if somebody is going to be successful and they see themselves taking a polygraph, the best advice I can give them is forget TV, forget what's on the internet. your examiner, which if you're coming to Scottsdale, it's going to be me, or we do contract. If I do assist with a background, I don't do the polygraph as well. So we do use another company to help us with polygraph, but either way, that examiner is going to take their time and they're going to explain everything you need to know to have a good test with them that day. So, you know, we were fortunate when we got hired and we took our polygraphs, there wasn't the internet, you know, and so you just went in there and you didn't really know, you couldn't read all the bad stuff that people have written about polygraph, and you weren't all nervous about it. You just went in there normal, right? Normal, hey, I'm here to tell the truth. And so the internet's great, and it's got great information if you know where to find it, and if you belong to the American Polygraph Association, you can get on there and read the latest research. That's a great resource for polygraph. But most people don't because they're not examiners, and so what they're getting are the reviews, just like, and I tell the guys and girls that come in, I say, just like when you go on a trip and you stay at a hotel and you read the reviews, that's what you're getting. And most people that write a review aren't happy, so you're getting bad information. So if you got that, ask me your questions. I'll clear stuff up for you, and I'm going to explain everything you need to know to have a good test in here today. And so if that's the best advice I can give them. So then they come in, and we're going to go through that background packet. I always tell them we're doing the polygraph for 3 reasons. Number one, it's required. If for an officer position, it's required by post that they take a polygraph. And for any other position, I tell them it's your requirement because you feel that it is just as important for our interns and our volunteers all the way up to the position of chief of police and everyone in between to have the same level of honesty and integrity because we all serve the public. That's what I tell them. It's our policy, our departmental policy. Reason number 2. And I tell them their background investigator wants to verify the information they've provided up to this point, which makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
But the number one reason we're doing this polygraph is because we are assessing their behavior in that room today to try and predict future behavior, how they're going to act as an employee based on how they act in that room today. How honest can they be about mistakes that they made in their past? Because we've all made them. But the difference is the people that can be honest about a mistake compared to the people that lie. And I tell them zebras don't change their stripes and people don't either. And it's true. So if they can come in there and say, yeah, I did this when I was 17, I did this when I was 22, yeah, I made that mistake too, and they can be honest, we can predict with a pretty good degree of likelihood that when they're working for us and they make a mistake, because they will, everybody does, they're going to be honest and they're not going to lie, because lying causes distrust with the public and we don't want that.
And it's a fireable offense.
Yeah.
Well, that too.
Yeah. I will tell you, I appreciate you saying that, you know, nothing to worry about. I had no intention, I obviously got through. I had never taken a polygraph before I came
Either
to
had I. I
Scottsdale.
didn't never
26 years in law enforcement, I've never taken a polygraph. I show up here and I'm going to take a polygraph, and I was a wreck.
Well, certainly you're nervous.
I got through it, but I was a wreck.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people, they read about these tactics you can use, and the
How
tactics,
you can lie
and the
and
tactics
don't blink your
work.
eyes
And
and do all this stuff.
tacks
It's
in your
apparent.
shoe.
You get an examiner that has done a few tests, and it's going to be very apparent, and that's called cheating.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's no room for cheating in this department.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Hey, Will, we didn't get a chance to find out a little bit about your career and your background.
Prior to here, I didn't have a whole lot. I
Didn't have a background before you started working.
I just was born, and then I walked in the door here. I started here at 24, and I've been here 16 years. So this was my first real career. I had a couple of just college jobs. I grew up in Southern Arizona and went to Grand Canyon University here, and then stayed around the valley.
And you've been in a number of units before the training unit, right?
Correct. I did patrol for the first 6 years, and then I did 6 years in the school resource unit, and now I've spent my last 4 in the training unit, and then I've also done 13 years as a negotiator.
Okay. So when our hires come in and graduate from the academy, there's still some work that has to be done. So they're police officers. They're fully authorized to do police work, but we still have some more steps to take before they are actually cut loose by themselves. And that's when you come in with post academy training, right, and then monitoring the field training that takes place. Why don't you explain that a little bit?
Correct. Yeah, the process would be the moment they do get hired, then they would come to us for a 1-week pre-academy to get them ready to go to the academy, and they're hired, they're paid, they're on the books, and then they go to the academy. That's about 20 weeks. And then we return from the academy. They've learned there how to become police officers. They've been sworn as police officers, but Now we familiarize them with kind of the Scottsdale procedures and whatnot, and that's what Post Academy does. Is it's a couple weeks to get them up to speed on. You learned how to do an accident investigation. Now here's how we document it here in our city, and here's how our computer systems work, and here's how Scottsdale works. And then from there, we will put them into what's called field training. And from field training, ideally, if it were to go completely smoothly, it's a 13-week, 4-phase training module where they'll go through. They'll have 3 different training officers, and they'll spend 2 weeks with the first officer, 4 weeks with the second, 4 weeks with the third, and they'll return back to that first officer. And each phase they're expected to do more and more and require less and less help from their training officer. It's not uncommon for the training to go beyond that. Sometimes it takes more than 13 weeks. Sometimes it just depends on certain calls. Sometimes they're not able to move on until they get a certain call in a certain phase. So if that call doesn't happen, they have to wait until it does. From there, they'll then be released out onto their own. And we never release anybody on their own until we're very confident that they can do the job all by themselves. And from there, they will then be reevaluated about a year later. We'll have kind of a follow-up, phase 5, we call it, where a training officer will work with them just to make sure they're fully comfortable.
Okay. And I think it's important that we just let people know that we don't have our own training academy. We've got great partnerships. We've sent officer candidates to Mesa Academy, the Sheriff's Academy, as well as the Phoenix Regional Academy. And so they go to a different place. We help out, we support. Sometimes we have officers involved in the training and they're at the academy, but it's really not our academy. And the other thing I think that we need to let people know just that from there the career goes a number of directions. Because as people put in time in patrol, they have then opportunities to go to other specialized units that they've shown an interest in, compete
Correct.
to be part of, and
Yeah,
actually
you
get
can't
trained.
just come in and be a SWAT officer.
Right.
It doesn't work
Right.
like that, but
Right.
it's a good goal and something you can attain.
Right.
And also, before we just go, because I know we're wrapping up, remember, this was just one
Right.
area of being a police officer. We have dispatchers, we
Yes.
have records personnel, we have a police aides. There's a ton of civilian positions as well, although some of the requirements are required as far as polygraph and some of the background, of course, but physical fitness would not be required, and there'd be other areas. But these are the experts that would have all that information for you. Please check out our website. Please feel free to call the experts, Jill and Jen and Officer Hathaway, and I know they'll be more than happy to give you as much information as you need.
That is a perfect wrap-up. Thank you all for being our guests today. We really appreciate it.
having
And
us.
anybody that might be interested, please look on our website and give us a call.
We'll see you next month.
Thank you so much. Wow, that's fast.
That was
Thank you
fast.
all very much. Have a great month of April, and we'll see you next month. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Be safe.